What's going on, guys? Kyle Bradshaw here. Today is a super exciting day. This here in front of me is a brand new, actually not even released yet, Rottweiler intake. Now, why am I so excited about this particular intake? Well, for the last 50,000 miles, in order to change the air filter here on the L1190, I have to take the plastic panels off. All right, next piece of plastic to come off the motorcycle. I actually have to remove the fuel tank. That's it. There we are. Fuel tank is off the motorcycle because up underneath here is where my air filter sits. It's a horrible situation. And stop. Right there is how long it took to get to my OEM air filter, which I've replaced with a uni filter. Now, it was about 3,000 miles ago that I serviced this air filter. You can see it's nice and clean here on the inside, but over here on the other side, it is pretty dirty and gross, guys. So this uni filter is definitely doing its job. Got no dust and debris down here inside any of my intakes. Let me show you this real quick. Let me pop the seat off. Up underneath this panel right here is where the airbox is. So in order to get to the airbox, in order to change the air filter, all of this has to come off. Of course, the Nelson Rig tank bag is super easy to come off. We have 4 quick release buckles. But really the big pain in the ass is all of this plastic and the actual fuel tank that has to come off before we get to this piece down here where we can access the air filter. Now take a look at this. This is actually going to bolt directly to the intake ports on the top of the intake once we get the fuel tank off. We'll get to that in just a second. And then take a look at this. This is simply going to open up and release. And then there's a magnet here that holds this piece in. So there's a magnet right here in the center, a magnet here on the top. This is what the air filter is going to be sitting on top of. This is a pre-oiled air filter. Here it is, the new Rottweiler kit installed and ready to go. We still have to install all the plastics, but take a look at this. In the future, put this guy like this, slide it out. And now we can either take this skin off, flip it around and put the clean side forward, or we can swap it out with a new freshly oiled skin and throw it, or filter I should say, and throw it right back into the cavity here. It's gonna go in, the magnet is gonna pull it down and seat itself, and then we're just going to use this latching mechanism here at the front to make sure it's nice and dialed in. Then we're going to screw this screw in, and we have now effectively changed the filter. I'm simply going to slip this little bullet or protrusion, I don't know what you call it, down into this little grommet here at the very end of the mechanism. I'm then going to slide it forward. I'm going to raise that bar up, slide it down in, and I'm going to crank this little wheel right here, and that's going to lock this air filter in place. This is an ingenious idea by Rottweiler. The sensor is going to bolt here to the bottom. We're going to be able to use most all the stock components other than the top of the intake, which we're going to replace. So right now I'm going to get busy. I'm going to remove all the plastics off of the motorcycle, remove the fuel tank so we can get to the airbox right there. Now real quick, one thing I want to show out right here on these crash bar bags on the 1190 is where I keep my toolkit. With all these installations, I like to use the tools that I would normally have with me out there on the trail. As you can see, this is my Nelson Rig tool roll, complete with all of the tools that I carry with me out there on the trail. Check this out. This is a little teeny tiny ratchet. It's got 3/8 on one side, quarter on the other. Now listen to this. You hear that? Super fine. So down inside a super tight space, I can actually get some movement. It's great. And then these are all the Torx bits that I need in order to get my fairing apart. Tell you what, this airbox situation is one of the worst out there. Now as I start taking these screws out, they're going to be different sizes. My shorter one here is a longer one here. So I'm just going to set these down into my magnetic tray in the order that I actually There it is. Magnetic is the key word there. As I remove them, that way I separate them by side and I know exactly where they belong. Another reason that this air filter is going to be so nice. This tab is actually the tab that goes right back behind here, front of the nose. Stuff right here that's really annoying when it comes to taking this motorcycle apart. There we go. Got this guy off. One of the 8 pieces of plastic that I need to remove in order to get the air filter changed on this motorcycle. All right, next piece of plastic to come off the motorcycle. Yet another piece of plastic to come off the motorcycle. Another broken tab over here on this side as well. Always amazing and fun. But all right, now what else do we have? Turn off my petcocks. That's it. There we are. Fuel tank is off the motorcycle. All right, stop. All right, so whatever that elapsed time was, that's how long it took us to actually remove the fuel tank so we could get to the airbox. Man, that was not a fun process. And it's a process you should do every time you ride your motorcycle heavy in the dirt off-road. Which admittedly, that's not something that I do. I typically check my air filter every 3,000 miles or so when I do an oil change. So it's gonna be great to have this new filter system and to be able to do that quickly and effectively. Although I believe I'm gonna be moving this sensor to another airbox over there. Not seeing any dust at all whatsoever inside my airbox, which is amazing. So we just took the airbox lid off and this is what we're looking like. Now it was about 3,000 miles ago that I serviced this air filter. You can see it's nice and clean here on the inside, but over here on the other side, it is pretty dirty and gross, guys. So this uni filter is definitely doing its job. Got no dust and debris down here inside any of my intakes. So now we're going to go ahead and remove these 4 screws. We have 2 down here and 2 up here. And that should be able to get this entire box up and off of our intakes right there, so we can get this guy installed. So being able to utilize all of the tools that I normally use out there on the trail really helps me to be able to know that I have everything that I need when it comes to getting into my motorcycle. Now there's little tabs here that are not allowing me to use a socket. It wasn't 8mm, by the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the proper torques that we need. Okay. What do we have? We have our snorkels up here in the front. We need to pull out of this case. All right, so pulling this box out, we had a hose that was connected right up here to the bottom of the box right here. And then we have this guy right over here that we're gonna pull down off the bottom of this box as well. All right, with that guy removed, you can see that was our little hose we had to attach to the other side. We slid out of these two little tabs here on the bottom of the airbox. And the whole OEM airbox comes off now. We need to take a look at these two little gaskets right here, the O-rings. Those are gonna go on the bottom of this guy right here. And as you can also see, one of them came out on their own. We'll have to pull the other one out and make sure it's nice and clean, lubed and seated in there when we apply it to the bottom of the guy. All right, so this here is the little gasket that was on the top of the engine when I took this thing apart. We're gonna need that second one to come out. So right here on the base, I'm gonna take a little pick. I'm gonna gently get down in here and pull it out. All right, now we're gonna install these on the bottom of our Rottweiler kit. Right down here at the bottom. They're gonna sit right in there just like they did in the OEM setup. Now we're gonna go ahead and take that air sensor that we had, that we took off of the motorcycle over here. Here we go. So this guy is gonna sit down just like this. So you have a little O-ring at the bottom of this one as well. It's gonna sit here. Gonna go ahead and put those two screws back inside. Go ahead and set this guy on the workbench here. All right, just gonna snug those up. Gonna go ahead and remove the actual air filter cage, if you will. We're gonna install this pre-oiled twin air filter. Got a nice hole right here on the front, as well as one right here on the rear. Again, this is made specifically for this Rottweiler air intake kit. I'm gonna slide this guy right over our little jousting stick, as I called it in the first video. I'm going to remove that screw all the way. I'm going to pull this filter down and over the edges here. We're going to have two little tabs that we're going to pull this filter over. It's going to sit just like that. So now what I could do is I could get some air filter sealing grease and put that around the edge. This is going to sit perfectly on the top. Of course, we're going to put our thumb screw right back in through this hole like so. And there it is. Filter installed, super easy. Now the base plate has those two O-rings that you saw just a little bit earlier. So it's going to come over here. We're going to take our crankcase breather and plug that into this guy right here in the back. And the sensor is going to fit over here on this side. So we'll plug this guy in over here. We're going to take our crankcase breather and plug that into this guy right here in the back. Now I'm going to line this base plate up here on the top. Yeah, 4 new screws from Rottweiler. Can install each of these loosely, make sure everything's lined up. Now that all these are in, let's unbutton these down. All right, now that we have the base plate installed, take a look at this Rottweiler air filter made by Twin Air. It's going to slide right into that groove. Here it is, the new Rottweiler kit installed and ready to go. We still have to install all the plastics, but take a look at this. There it is, folks. Bike is up and running. Now, if I wanted to change or check this air filter while out there on the trail, I simply remove my seat and look at this, instant access to your air filter. You hit this little thumb screw, not quite that far.
All of you 1090,
a little bit
1190,
excessive, Kyle.
I think the early 1290
You're gonna pop this guy
guys,
out. It's gonna release
man,
the
you're gonna
filter.
love the ability
you're gonna lift it up
to get to your air filter.
holding it down.
Just that easy. Rottweiler, thank you so much for making such an amazing kit. I am digging it. Being able to check how dirty the filter is going to be a game changer, and being able to actually swap it on the trail. Now we can flop this skin, so it's bi-directional, if you will. Take this and rotate this around the skin off of the cage that it's on here, or you can just have a backup skin ready to go and throw it, or a filter, and throw it in place. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and set this little spike here all the way down into that little O-ring at the very base or back of this base plate. And now we're going to take our filter, I'm going to slide it in place. It's going to come down on the magnet. We're going to put this little lever, lock this in place, and that's going to make sure that the filter is down where it needs to be. Tighten this thumb screw. Now we can replace the seat, and we're ready to ride. On the trail, just switch that filter around so the clean part back here is now up front and the dirty parts in the back is huge. Being able to have a spare one of these, like this guy right here, packed down all in your kit so that you can just pull it out and put it on, is another really huge thing. Thank you, Rottweiler. Really appreciate you. For all of you who have followed along, please like and subscribe to this video. I'd really appreciate it. If you like any of the products that you see on this motorcycle, you can get most of them at nelsonrig.com. Coupon code manybikes will get you 25% off. And of course, don't forget to visit manybikes.biz for all of your tires, seal savers, and your wild ass seat cushion needs. I'm Kyle Bradshaw. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, take care. Ride safe out there. All right, guys, I got the new Rottweiler intake installed. Take a listen to how awesome this intake sounds. Ready?